Hello there, Lena. Um, I thought I'd give you a quick history. She's based on the CV anyway that I gave you, I think. This is the CV I've got here is one that's computer generated, but it has the same text as what my one does. So I've been around a while. I've been in the industry, the software industry, for 38 years. Still at it off and on, but I've been unemployed since April 2023, and I was quite poorly in 2023, but recovered. So yeah, I went for the colonoscopy and gastroscopy in Australia, and then after that I came back. I was quite poorly, even though I had such a great time with friends and colleagues in Perth, Australia. Anyway, coming back to the beginning, I started work on a placement at British Gas Online Inspection. Before that, I'd working in greenhouses and stuff, because my dad could get me a job in the local greenhouses. It's a bit like you and your waitressing. Shitty work, but it allowed me to have some pleasures, like buying computers when they just came out. There hadn't been really any such thing as a personal computer when I started to get into it, and then the things that came out were the ZX80, the ZX81, Sinclair Spectrum, and the Oric one. And then when I went to school, there was a BBC-A and BBC-B micros that taught people BASIC. When I went to university after qualifying with 3 A-levels, they told us to forget BASIC and to learn something decent like Pascal. But it couldn't do anything. But anyway, we had to learn these things. And we studied hard. Back then, it was C had just come onto the scene in 1985, and it was all the rage. And it was something called Kunigan and Ritchie C. So it you didn't have a signature for methods. Yeah, it was a bit weird. But that quickly went, and then signatures arrived. So you could define what types you sent in and what types came back, and so forth. And hence started a revolution in languages. My first job placement was actually a physics placement, working for a British Gas Online Inspection. They had me doing all sorts of things, and one of the things I did do was to work out how to identify faults in shell pipes. I did this by, unless you've done maths, you won't know what differentiation is, but it's essentially working out the tangent to a graph. But in this particular instance, it's a high-pass filter. So what I did is a high-pass filtered in 2 directions and multiplied them together, and that gave you the maximum change in two directions, which obviously was a defect. The effect of this was to smooth everything else out, and you could just see the defects and things like the pipe wall weld going along the thing. Beautifully smooth and clean. All the defects due to velocity changes and lift off and stuff all went, and just the defects remained with the weld. Absolutely fantastic. What else did I do there? I looked at gouges, but they weren't so good. You had to really just look at the raw signals to see the gouges. You couldn't work on maximum change in two directions. It didn't work because they were too long. So they weren't like points. They were gashes, effectively. Gouges. Anyway, it's enough of that. That was up in Cramlington, a new town in Northumbria. So yeah, away from home. Used to come back most weekends, I think. I had a girlfriend at the time. Yep. Wasn't too far away. I mean, it didn't take long on the train to get back to York or Doncaster, so yeah, easy. And my dad used to pick me up. But then he was fit enough to drive. He did quite well. He was an old dad, you know. He did okay. And I lived with a man called Andy Mann. I mean, have you heard such a ridiculous name? Next year, I went on a placement to British Aerospace, and that was just effectively updating it from an 80-column format disc, and they put together magnetic tapes which ran the jobs in a batch processing system overnight. So the users effectively generated the changes, and then they got uploaded overnight. And this was, can you believe it, done with a van with tapes in the back. So I replaced that with a direct fibre optic connection to the Preston site. And we had this rather expensive IBM computer, this mainframe, that ran all these terminals in Samlesbury. And then I had to train the users in how to use these terminals to input the data directly. I mean, this is 1987. I mean, they were well behind. But I used something called JCL, which is Job Control Language, to change the source and destination of the data. It's something that IBM used to do. Don't know if they still do it. So boring though. I used to get drunk every day with this mate called Phil. He used to drive us to the pub, and we used to have a few games of pool, have a few drinks, and then come back to work. And I'd be flying high. Anyway, the third year I was supposed to go on placement, but I didn't get one. So I ended up staying at home preparing for retakes. So it's because I never revised. I wasn't interested in exams at that point. I'd had enough with A levels at that stage and the disappointment that they provided. So I just did the coursework stuff and enjoyed myself. And then I worked really hard in the final year, and I did. That was a full year at university, and I did a thing called a ray tracer, which is a way of producing photographic realistic images from shapes held in a text file. And this thing parsed a text file and then generated photorealistic images. I've still got it. It's on my GitHub, and I've updated it a few years ago to do a few more shapes to make doing certain things a bit easier. And I did an animation a few years ago for the 25th anniversary of the Hubble Space Telescope, and I actually animated that going around the Earth. Anyway, that's aside. Graduated from university, went to Siemens Plessey, a radar company, and tended to work on test versions of man-machine interfaces and made sure the radars communicated properly with their PCs and the command control centers. I don't know. They left me doing the same stuff all the time, and I got good at it, but man, it was soul destroying, and I did suffer quite mentally, both from the distance it was away from mum and dad, which were up north in Hive, and this was on the Isle of Wight, so there was nothing to do, so except go to the pub and get drunk, and I just didn't want to do that. Well, I did. I used to drink quite a bit back then, but it wasn't satisfying for me. I used to spend most of the time either going home, which would take best part of 8 hours, or going to what's it called? Begins with S. Southampton, and to the cinema to watch stuff, and I watched some pretty strange bloody stuff because I watch something every weekend, and there is the rough with the smooth. So I resigned from there, and yeah, I wasn't well mentally, but I didn't know there was anything wrong with me. So I had some rest and went to Australia. Picked up a job within 6 weeks of looking, and went to work for a company called ADI. They did command support systems, which is similar to radar from a display point of view, but they used a thing called a global information system, which was global, and you put your tracks on this global information system. Again, I was in the process of parsing data, and I did quite a good job. I did this envelope operations job, which would, with live data, would recognize the format that was coming in and would parse it correctly into the relevant track information. Ada wasn't the correct language to use. As soon as Java came along, we replaced it. We had a thing called Picture Manager and a thing called Message Manager, and they were using Ada and C and D to knock up the user interface in X11. But the thing was with it is that very cumbersome, very difficult to do, absolutely massive, required really fantastic hardware to run this stuff which cost a fortune. So we needed a solution that would run on a PC, and that was the Java solution. And the Java solution came, and we called it Llama. And the envelope operations, I didn't do it. Somebody else took that role on to learn how to do it, because I hadn't bragged about it really, so it was all in my head. And I said to them, that's the right way to do it. And they did it. But the whole thing used a slow database, an Oracle database, and it could only process one message every second. And if you can imagine, if you've got any real-time systems, you're talking 300 a second, or maybe more. So it wasn't up to that sort of speed. So you had to reduce the speed of the input so you could display the information correctly. Have some sort of a buffer with a sampling rate that was less than 1 a second. Anyway, that's enough of that. I had a team of 6 in the end. Some real dead weight, but some good people. And I tried to get the dead weight to use the good people to do stuff to take the weight off me. I didn't succeed. They continued to stress me out at the level of manager, and there was a lot of pressure from the top, and then there were these Egypts below me, which led to me breaking. So I had a psychotic episode in 1998. I had this when I arrived back from Australia. It's like it was triggered by a picture of some guy cutting himself in half by going into a washing machine and turning it on. And that particular awful picture, it just freaked me out. And then I went for an interview, and I was wandering all over the country to get to Barrow-in-Furness, which was where my friend Martin Ray was. So I thought he was some sort of leader, religious leader or something that had the direct line to God or something. It was a bizarre day. I would look at things and get totally the wrong meaning. And he drove me home when I did make it there eventually at 6 o'clock at night. And he dropped me off at 1 o'clock in the morning. My parents were up. Didn't know what to do. They were panicking. And Martin said he's not right. And the psychiatrist I'd seen at the hospital had given me something written in Latin to give to my doctor. And then they started me on this stuff called Stelazine, which was like a horse tranquilizer. It's fucking strong. But I've been on drugs ever since. Anyway, 2 years on, I did learn to drive while I was recovering. And then I started work after going to a reunion in 2000. This guy said he'd take me on. I didn't know what I was doing. It was all embedded C. But I learnt after making a few mistakes. And they had ways of doing things which I had to learn. I did say to them I didn't want to be a senior. I just wanted to be a software engineer, but after 3 years they laid me off. But it was enough money for me to buy 2 tickets on a 747 going over to New York, and on the way back, Concorde. So, is that the correct way around, or was it Concorde first, 747 back? Can't remember. I think it was Concorde back, and 747 out. And me and Cheryl went, my sister Cheryl, and we had a great time. She got up in a bit of a flap about the trip back and making sure we got on Concorde, but we're like 4 hours early or something. So the Concorde lounge wasn't actually open. And those guys that go on Concorde just rock up an hour before. So it was all a bit embarrassing. We had to wait in first class until Concorde Lounge opened, and then we went through, and then we were running a bit late. Absolutely fantastic on Concorde though, so quick, so a lot of noise. The engines made a lot of noise, but it was like they gave us, I think it was caviar. It tasted fishy, but I didn't know what it was. I'd never had caviar before, and it was like every 10 minutes they were coming around topping the glass up with champagne. And I didn't really drink champagne, but it felt we had to. Absolutely fantastic. What a memory. Didn't have a very good camera, so I couldn't really capture things like the breaking of the sound barrier and the pictures out the window. But anyway, it's in my memory, locked away. Then I went to spent quite a few years unemployed, looking for work, and I was up north. I didn't want to go down south, so I ended up getting a job in Steeton, West Yorkshire, with a company called EchoStar. Spent 7 years there. Only did one thing that was interesting, and I got a patent for it, so that was good. What it did is it helped in generation of a test harness. But what can you say? Nobody appreciated my imagination, but I got a patent for it, and I've still got it in the window. I did some team leading there, off and on. Did some deputy team leader stuff. I was a bit crazy though. I was on this stuff called risperidone, and yeah, I was a bit crazy. Like I got it into my head when the boss was away, just to do everything that was on his plate, so he had nothing to do when he got back, which must have been quite frustrating for him. But he let me do it, and it was quite fun. Then I went to Pancredit, the first Java job. Did a parser for them, they were quite happy. And then it turned all a bit sour when a lady made a mistake. She didn't define an API correctly, which meant that the code generation tools generated me another package it didn't need, and it had to be fixed up. Ultimately, it took too long. They didn't change the estimate, even though the error was made, and I got blamed for it. But I stuck my corner, defended myself, and we had to come to a settlement. So I got 3 months pay out of them. I think it's 1 month less than I should have got, but at least I got something. And then I went to Australia for the second time, and when I got there, about a month in, I got a job with the education department. That lasted 16 months or so. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. The guy's absolutely fantastic, you know. Jeff, I didn't really know Jeff at ADI, but I got to know him at education department, and he was fantastic. And I'm still in touch with him now. Eric used to work there, and he fell foul of one of the guys who used to drop engineers in it. And Neil's still there. So I got to know Neil a bit better as well. But as I say, it ended 16 months in. Then I went to... then I was unemployed for quite some time. Well, no, I went and did a course on digital interactive games. My mum had died when I was at Pancredit, and my dad took it pretty bad, and he only survived her by 3 years. So he was dying, and my sister said he's dying, and I said, "Oh, I'm coming back." And this was while I was doing the course, so I flew back to England. I managed to get a tax rebate, so that paid for it. And I went and saw him in hospital, and saw him pass away. Quite a peaceful death. And when I was in Australia, the reason why I went to Australia was because there was nothing for me in the UK, just my two sisters, you know, and that wasn't a strong enough link to keep me in the UK. I thought, oh, I'll give Australia a try again. If the job had continued, I would still be out there. But the fact it finished after 16 months, and I went and did the digital interactive games, and I was unemployed and couldn't get work, I had to come back. So I came back and worked for a company called Iliad for 4.5 months. I won't go into the jobs I've had since, because there's only one that's been up to a year in length, and that was at Vision Network, and I learnt quite a bit of stuff there. But that ended up... in Australia I met a psychiatrist called Dr. Kostov. Fantastic guy. He put me onto this stuff called Latuda, and yeah, I was a lot better. The hormones were correct, and still not right, but like within normal params, and I felt much more human, less crazy. So yeah, when I came back to England, I worked for Iliad for a bit, and then probably about another 10 or so firms up until 2023. All short spans except Vision Network, which was a year. But the guy who was in charge was an arsehole, and he was loved by the boss, and he just used to take credit for stuff that wasn't his, and be a micromanager, and yeah, not good. So yeah, that's where I am now, unemployed, looking for work, but retired also. I've taken a pension out from Australia, which funds me at the moment, so I can survive without benefits. So there you go. They were up to the current day. Okay, Leah, there we are.